Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Violet Rain.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic. I'm your host, Violet B. Rain. My guest today is Marcas ODea. He has transformed creative resistance into breakthrough storytelling as the Story Sherpa, a creativity strategist who guides highly sensitive writers, entrepreneurs, and artists to discover the sacred magic within their own unique gifts. With 45 years of writing success and deep expertise in HSP navigation, as well as therapeutic programs, Right to Heal, Marcus has helped creatives recognize that their sensitivity is actually a sophisticated spiritual guidance system designed to lead them towards their authentic purpose. And so we're going to jump in and start talking to Marcus. I love this because sensitivity is something that I believe everyone on some level is dealing with today in our chaotic world, meaning the chaotic world out there. So, welcome, Marcus, to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here and meeting you.
I'm happy to meet you too. I bet you didn't understand that you were sensitive right out of the gate. I bet it took you a little bit of time to figure out what was going on. Share a little bit about your story on
Sure.
what got you to understand where you're at today.
So I came up in a family. I raised my 13 siblings. I came up in a family where I think my mother's approach to child rearing was, if it ain't like us, kill it. And that was really traumatic for me. I used to get in trouble all the time because I was so sensitive and I would cry easily and all of this stuff. And so I've always known that I'm really sensitive, but I was forced to hide it and pretend I didn't have those feelings and whatnot for so many years. In 1996, I happened across Dr. Elaine Aron's book, The Highly Sensitive Person. And when I read that, it was like an owner's manual for myself. And it was so eye-opening. And I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't a weakness. This isn't something I need to hide. This is something I should really embrace and use. And ever since that moment where I realized that sensitivity is a strength, my life changed completely. And I vowed never to go back to seeing any sensitivity as weakness. And I love helping people recognizing that same strong trait in themselves because it's important.
I think it is too. But somebody that's listening, let's say we have somebody listening and they don't really understand what you're talking about sensitivity. What are
Okay.
some of the signs that someone may be highly sensitive or sensitive? What would that look like for them? And what might they be shutting down and really not understanding that they are?
So thank you. That's a good question. For me, and I think everyone's experience is somewhat different, but there are some similarities throughout. For me personally, it was that I felt so deeply, like I couldn't handle watching Old Yeller, the old movie Old Yeller. Totally lost it. Couldn't deal with it. Um, I had difficulty taking criticism. Um, I had sensitivity of hearing, which means that any loud noise whatsoever just freaked me out. Um, and I just felt like my senses seemed to be different than the people's senses around me. And so it was a physical thing for me at first. And then as I learned more and more about how, how easily my heart breaks and how much love that I have, but I can't just let that all out because in this society that's dangerous. People take advantage. So it was a progression of understanding. And the universe must have thought I was ready to understand it completely when I found that book. And so um, I'm still that same person. I have very strong senses: hearing, smell, taste. I can't eat spicy food at all. I tell people the spiciest food I ever eat are mashed potatoes. So it's a processing thing. The true name of high sensitivity is sensory processing sensitivity. So you hear people say, well, that person's on the spectrum, and they're talking about autism. And autism is one end of a spectrum. And their sensitivities are so much bigger than somebody like me. But I'm still on that spectrum because my sensitivities are still stronger than somebody who's not quite in the same place on the spectrum that I might be. So there's really no yardstick that you can say, well, if you do this, then you're sensitive. Elaine Aron, who wrote the book, she has a website called hsperson.com. There's a test on there that you can go and take for free if you feel like you or somebody else might be highly sensitive. And it's a good thing to know, to name it, because when you name it, you can own it. And if you are not naming it, if you're just trying to avoid all of that kind of sensitivity and emotions and feelings, then your journey is going to be much different than somebody who takes ownership of that sensitivity and says, look, I need to understand this at the deepest level.
Well, and I think sensitive people, so my perspective and what I see, and I think a lot of people are sensitive these days. What that level of sensitivity is varies. Some people can't be in a loud restaurant. Some people can't be in a crowded place because it's way too much energy. Some people can't be under certain types of lighting because lighting can be sensitive. I never thought about spicy foods. I love hearing that because I can't eat spicy foods. But I also think people that are awakening, that are asking to connect with what I call the navigation system. You call it a sophisticated spiritual guidance system. Same idea. We
Mm-hmm.
were given this gift, and it is a gift, it's not a curse. We were given this gift to help guide us in this lifetime, to let us know when we're safe, when we're not safe, when we should trust that person, when we shouldn't trust that person, when we should walk down that alleyway, or when we shouldn't walk down that. If you've ever had the hair stand up on the back of your neck or your stomach's turned because you're so anxious or there's something about this person, or you go spend time with somebody and you come home and you're like, I don't know why, but I am exhausted. This
Yeah.
is all signs of sensitivity. And if you're asking to be guided to connect to your intuition, and I will call it intuition because that seems to be more comfortable for people. There's lots of names for it. If you're asking to connect to your intuition, then you have to become sensitive to the things around because we pull it into our chakras, into our etheric fields, all of that. That's how you feel that, know that, sense that, hear that, smell that. It's all natural. And it helps us navigate the world. Now, if you are highly sensitive, and my grandchildren are all different. Some of them are highly sensitive to smell, some are highly sensitive to noise, some are highly sensitive to their taste buds and how the texture of foods. I mean, we have these sensitivities, knowing them and understanding that's important. But we also need to know when we're highly sensitive how to protect our energy fields because now you're taking on all this energy and it's affecting you. And when you ignore it and shove it into your body and say, oh no, I'm not going to do that, it can turn into disease and illness and all kinds of things.
Because we internalize it.
Right? And we
Yeah.
pull it in, and then it makes us deathly ill, and we have all these crazy outcomes physically, emotionally, and mentally just because we didn't want to go, okay, I'm sensitive. I'm going to cry at the movies, and it's okay. I'm going to be nurturing and show emotion, and that's okay. I love those aspects. So, share with us, because you talk about it being a sacred gift. When you say our sensitivity is a sacred gift, what are the pluses? We've talked a little bit about the negatives, right? They can make us physically ill. We can shut down. We can hide, all that stuff. But what is the gift in there? How does it help us from a sacred gift perspective?
So before I understood the terminology of highly sensitive person, I could walk into a room or a building or something and just all of a sudden my mood does a 180. Like I was happy and just moving along my day, and then that would shift so hard. And I used to kind of really beat myself down for that. It's like, why are you so moody? Are you schizophrenic? What's wrong with you? And I eventually came to realize that those weren't my feelings I was getting. I was absorbing whatever was in the space that I walked into. And so I began testing myself and saying, when you feel like this, when you have a sudden shift, ask yourself, are these my emotions or are they somebody else's emotions? And through that process, and it took a lot of time, but through that process and me being very persistent about that with myself, um, I learned that it was that my sensitivity and my intuition was a guidance system. It wasn't a superpower like superheroes have in the comic universe or whatever. It is a quiet, invisible radar system that helps us guide ourselves to safe things, a good life, a loving partner, a amazing dog, whatever that turns into. That's your guidance system, and intuition has always been my guidance system. And I think intuition and sensitivity are linked directly. So I don't even try to separate those. So for me, like growing up, um, it was a guidance system because I could avoid the adults who were getting ready to do something heinous. I could kind of feel it coming, so I would skedaddle out the door and say, I'm going out to play or whatever that is. And in adulthood, it's become what I call a sacred guidance system because now it directs me in my everyday life. I can feel things, but I feel myself feeling them. And that knowledge and that consciousness of the feeling is what changed. Before it was like, I feel something, it's like, oh, whatever. I'm a guy, I don't care. I don't want to do that. Um, but then it was like, you have to be okay with this because it's who you are. And if you just ignore who you are, you'll make yourself sick. You'll die young, you'll be stressed, you'll be anxious, you'll be all of these things. So if I can embrace my intuition and I can embrace my sensitivity, then it works to help me thrive. And that's what
I love
came
that.
to.
I love to give the example, and everybody's had this. So just think about this. Have you ever met someone in a group and everybody loves that person? They're all attracted to that person. They're all really into that person, but you meet them and you're like, and
Yeah,
you have
something's off.
that second thought of, this is not good. And instead of trusting that, you step in and try to build a relationship with that person because everyone else likes that person. And down the road, you get burnt, hurt, wounded from what happened. And this happens to me today. I might meet somebody and my guides, because I call my guides, my helpers that are helping me, I will see a caution sign like,
Mm,
caution, what are you doing? Or I'll feel that caution, right? And I kind of step away and let it play out with everybody else
mm.
and watch all the drama that plays out with everybody else that are connected. And I didn't get pulled into it. And I am
Because
very grateful for that when I don't get pulled into it.
so I'm glad you said it the way that you just said it. I've been an astrologer for 45 years, and I don't force that on anybody. I know not everybody follows astrology. Um, but what you call spirit guides, I call my committee of 12. And it's these non-entities that live inside of me. I have 12 of them, and they represent each sign of the zodiac. And when I run into a situation like what you're describing, I'll get like a little pain right here in my neck. And it'll just stop me long enough to go, oh, I should pay attention to that. It's like seeing the numbers 1111 on the clock, or thinking about something, and you get a playing card on the ground that you find just randomly, like a synchronistic event. And this is how we learn to interact and communicate with the greater universe, is through these signals. We are just walking biology, that just happen to have a mind attached to it. So why not use that mind to live a fulfilling and meaningful life? And you do that by recognizing your intuition and acknowledging it, and allowing it to guide you. Same with the sensitivity. Again, I use sensitivity and intuition interchangeably. But it does talk to you all the time. And so you can ignore it at your own risk, I guess, is the way I look at it.
Well, since I was little, I've always known things that were coming. It was just like this deep knowing. I just know it. I don't know how to tell you where it comes from. I'm not going to argue with whether it's real or not. It shows up and it's real. It happens. And I just have these gut instincts of, ooh, this is going to happen, or this is coming. It's kind of like my warning signal of brace, brace for impact. It's coming, right? And I trust that. I follow that. I've made crazy decisions based on that, but I've never been disappointed. I've never been wrong. I know when it feels really deep and solid of, hey, this is not something that you just shrug away. And I don't know how many students I have met that they're like, oh yeah, I get those, but and then like, then what happens? Well, it doesn't turn out really well. I'm like, then why do you keep pushing it away? Because here's the thing, you keep pushing it away and they will slam you into a wall and just pull out the rug from underneath you. Those are signs of, hey, it's time to get into action, or it's time to do something. It's time to be really open to what's happening around you. And when you use that navigation system that way, I just feel like it really helps. This
Mm.
life is difficult. Even if you're spiritually connected and be a leader of a tribe, I still cry. I still get hurt. I still want to go roll up in a ball somewhere. I still want to run away. I have all those feelings. I am human. I still have that. The difference is I don't stay stuck there for very long. I have tools that help me move through the challenges, the obstacles, including my sensitivity. Sometimes we just need to curl up for just a little bit and lick our wounds and be sensitive and cry and sob, and then
Do what we need to do.
uh-huh,
Yeah. And then move on.
and move on.
So a couple things came to mind. I'll make them kind of short. The first experience that I ever had, and I don't consider myself a psychic or a medium or anything like that. I do understand that that's a real thing. And I do understand that there are people who have that trait and have that capability. I was a 6-year-old kid. We were staying the weekend at my maternal grandmother's house, and I had two brothers at the time. So the three of us slept in a single room, separate beds. And one morning I woke up before the sun came up. It was still gray outside. And I opened my eyes, and there was a man standing at the end of my bed. And he was just standing there. Big beard, flannel shirt, overalls. He looked like some kind of outdoorsy guy. And I just looked at him and looked at him and looked at him. Nothing happened. He just kind of dematerialized. I went back to sleep. I thought it was a dream. So when I got up, I told my grandma, I said, listen, I had this weird dream about this guy standing on bed, and he was like, had this big beard and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, oh, yeah, it was just a dream, honey. And then the phone rings, and it's her sister saying that her husband, Joe, had been out feeding the pigs. He had a heart attack, fell in the pig pen, and the pigs ate him. I had described Joe, who I'd never met before in my life, to the smallest detail. And I started realizing, even as a 6-year-old, it's like, how did that happen? Why did that happen? What do I do with that? And I used to, hope that I'd become a psychic and make $1 million. But, finding out you're sensitive too in other ways, that made me think, no, I don't want anything to do with other people's trauma. I'll help them from my perspective, but I don't want to get directly involved like that. So, yeah, and it's what do you do with it? I think that's the key question. If you're ignoring these signals, we are conduits. No matter what you think about what a human is, we are basically conduits. And my philosophy is that creativity in a human is the universe expressing itself through us. And so when I'm teaching writing classes as a Story Sherpa or whatever, people are like, well, where do you get your ideas? I was like, I don't get them from anywhere. They come to me. And if I grab onto it, just like an intuitive flash, I can ignore it and push it away. But if I grab onto it and I look at it and I say, oh, this would make a great novel. And then I write a novel on it. That's the same way that intuition works. It sends you signals, it sends you messages all the time. And those messages are based in a way that you can understand through your own history, through your own lived experience, through your own thought processes, because it's designed specifically for you. But if you ignore it, then it moves on, and you may or may not get it back. If it's a lesson you need to learn, it'll keep coming back. If it's a signal, like a story, like what I'm going to get, the universe doesn't have time for me to go, oh, well, I don't know, maybe. The universe just says, nope, time's up. I'm sending it to somebody else, and somebody else writes that story. I've heard musicians talk like this about songs, how songs just downloaded into them. And I've become such an advocate for intuitive processing and sensitive processing in my adult years that it's just really energizes me all the time to have conversations like this with people like you who are on a similar path. And I totally respect and acknowledge your path, because you're helping people too. And that's why we're here.
It is why we're here. I believe movies, music, books, all of that is channeled in one way or another. Channeled, downloaded, intuitively received, gotten. I think
however you want to describe it. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And the timing is perfect. It's what the timing's supposed to be. If it's meant to be out now and us to see it and to connect with it, somebody is going, if you poo-poo it, somebody else is going to grab it and run with it, because
yep.
I think it's like the universe talking to us through our creativity, our imagination, our daydreams, right?
Well,
sharing.
I ask people, I say, imagine, tell me what your creativity means to you. And that's what I would ask them. and they would tell me something that they may have learned in a book, or color inside the lines. They learned that in first grade or whatever. And I say, well, what would it look like if you reframed creativity as the actual universe speaking directly to you? And there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable with that. They don't know how they would manage that. But it's so easy, and the universe is not vicious. It's not going to send you these things that you can't handle. And we get that a lot in the Christian religion. God will never send anything to you that you cannot handle. Well, that to me is the universe. It will never send you something that you can't handle. Obviously, it sees a spark in you, enough so to send you this message. What do you do with that message? You ignore it, then the universe, next time a message comes through that they want to send to you, says, no, we're not going to bother. We're going to send it over here. So,
and if it's really important for you to get it, they're not going to stop sending it to you. They're going to hit you over the head with it.
And it's going to be harder and harder every time. It's like, did you need that extra pain? Is that what you were waiting for?
You just need to surrender and go, okay, let's see where this goes. Sometimes that's the best way to do it, right?
And surrender doesn't mean it's not a negative thing. Surrender is to open. To open yourself to what is available, what is being provided to you. Some people would say, well, surrender, I give up. That's what people do in wars and blah, blah, blah. No. Surrender means let go. Open the doors. Let it in. It's not going to kill you.
At least I hope not. No, it's not going to kill you.
Yeah, no, it's not going to kill you.
Share with us some of the things, projects you're working on, some of the things you offer. We'll have your website at the bottom of the video and in the description of the podcast. But share with us a little bit, people listening that would really like to reach out. What is your focus point, some of your creative projects? Share a little bit of that with us.
So I have, and people laugh at this, I have 4 authors who live in my chest. And they all write different types of books. So it just depends on what the story is. But currently I have several novels that are out waiting to get purchased by a publisher or represented by an agent or whatever. I teach workshops locally, and I'm opening up my repertoire now to do online workshops globally. And so, yeah, anybody who I hire out as a coach, I interpret people's natal charts in astrology. I mean, there's just so many ways that anyone could reach out to me for a million different things. And my website is pretty dense, but it's got almost everything in that website as to what I'm working on. Currently, with a colleague of mine, I'm working on a highly sensitive podcast coming out in March. I launched yesterday a magazine directed at highly sensitive people, people in general, not just men. And there's a call for submissions for that magazine. I have 2 other magazines coming out this year. None of them are in the sensitivity area, but they all are still designed by me. So there's going to be sensitivity involved in the process. So yeah, I feel like I'm doing a lot this year. I feel like I've reached my stride this year at this advanced age. It's like, why didn't this happen when I was 20 instead of 60? Yeah, there's a lot. Do you want me to go into more detail or?
No, I love that where people can check. This year is a numerology 1. And if you look at the astrology planets, we've got a lot of new energy coming and hitting the planet this year that's going to push and shove us. I've heard more than one person say, and I've been telling everybody, this year is going to move very, very fast. If you haven't noticed that already, we're going to be in the holiday season in a blink of an eye. So you really need to get focused in what you want to create and really be focused on doing the actions to get it done, because the year's going to be gone before we know it. But it is really pushing us forward with that fire horse and the Chinese New Year. There's just a lot of stuff that's going to move
And
us forward.
we just moved into Aquarius season, and Aquarius is the trend setters. They're the people who do the new things, the big new whatever. We've just come out of an astrological period that was so restricting and confined and gross. It just felt heavy and like walking through mud. But that just broke up yesterday. And so we're going to start feeling that momentum going into this year. And it's going to pick up and pick up and pick up. So I hope people can make themselves ready to take advantage of that. Why wouldn't you? I mean, this energy wants you to succeed beyond your wildest dreams.
And
So,
dreams it is. What have you been dreaming of? Sitting at home, isolated from the world. What have you been asking for? What have you been dreaming? This is the year to start movement. Get out of the house, start moving, start working towards something, start pushing towards those dreams and desires. This is an important year. We ended a cycle, lots of cycles last year. Numerology cycles, planet cycles,
yep.
lots of stuff has ended. We're moving into one, which means let's get onto our chariots and start moving this forward. So don't miss this opportunity. Really think about, what have you been dreaming about? What are your desires? What would you like to accomplish? You have all these energies ready to support you as you move forward. So take advantage of that and really step in. Whether you're sensitive or not, this is the
Right.
year to make some really big changes.
My word for this year is sovereignty. That means self-agency. That means if you've been sitting around dreaming and thinking about doing these things, like you said, Violet, now is the time to get up off the couch and start making those plans. It's you're done fermenting the idea up here. Now you've got to put it out into the world. Otherwise, what's the point?
I love the word sovereignty. Our mystery school, the next group that starts in March, is all sovereignty. Stepping
Nice.
into your power. My word is alignment. I want to be in alignment with what is happening for me and the planet. I want to be
And mine is
aligned.
abundant.
Yeah.
Mine is abundance this year because I've lived a life of what I call lack, not having things. We were talking before we went on the air about that. And so I decided, you know what, I'm tired of that. But what I realized is nobody's going to come knocking on my door and say, here's $1 million. Especially since Ed McMahon passed away. He's not doing that anymore. So I have to get up off my butt and make these things happen. I can't just sit and hope. I have to act. And I hope everybody listening to this grasps that idea and says, yes, it's time for me to act. And does so.
I love that. Thank you for being on the show, Marcus, and taking the time. We could talk forever. And this could go on. We talked like 25, 30 minutes before we ever started. So we could have this conversation go on all day. But thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
I love it. And those listening, I hope you're really listening, because there were lots of golden nuggets today that we shared with you. And I wish you a very sacred and magical week. Thank you, Marcus, for sharing your sacred magic with us. I love that. This is the year of new beginnings, new starts. Grab those reins and start moving forward. Please like, comment, follow, share wherever you listen or watch. Please help us grow our community. We would love to hear your feedback. And I hope to see you again soon on another episode.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Violet, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. You can also send a personal message to Violet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. If you love the show, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.